Disclaimer: the information provided in this comprehensive masterclass is intended strictly for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional, financial, legal, tax, or business advice of any kind. E-commerce operations, digital marketing strategies, and software implementations discussed herein involve inherent, significant risks. Any discussion regarding potential revenue generation, business growth, customer acquisition costs, or return on investment is based entirely on historical trends, general industry data, and specific case studies, and must never be interpreted as future projections for your own business. We do not guarantee any specific outcomes, and it is crucial to understand that there are no get-rich-quick methods in building or scaling a profitable online store. Successful e-commerce requires substantial capital investment, rigorous market research, and continuous effort. Viewers must conduct their own independent due diligence and are strongly encouraged to consult with certified financial advisors, legal professionals, or certified marketing experts before making any financial decisions, software investments, or marketing expenditures. The marketing frameworks and technological systems discussed may not be suitable for every business model, niche, or market condition. By continuing to watch this video, you acknowledge and accept that you are proceeding at your own discretion and assuming full responsibility for any business decisions you make. Most of you watching this right now are actively driving your online stores off a financial cliff, and you do not even realize your foot is on the gas pedal. Right now, across the United States, thousands of e-commerce founders are treating their businesses like a rented apartment that they are pouring their entire life savings into renovating. You are spending thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of dollars every single month on Meta advertisements, Google pay-per-click campaigns, and TikTok influencer sponsorships, desperately hoping to acquire a single customer. But here is the highly controversial truth that massive digital advertising agencies absolutely do not want you to understand. If you are relying purely on paid traffic to survive and generate daily sales, you do not actually own a business. You own a highly volatile algorithmic dependency. You are merely renting attention from massive technology conglomerates, and the moment you stop paying your daily rent, your business ceases to exist. Let me illustrate this reality with a high-stakes scenario based on recurring historical trends we see constantly in the digital marketplace. Consider a hypothetical independent apparel brand based out of Austin, Texas. Over the course of 2 highly stressful years, the founders managed to scale their top-line revenue to over $1 million entirely through aggressively optimized Facebook and Instagram advertisements. They felt invincible. Their daily Shopify dashboard showed massive sales velocity, and they were actively taking out loans to reinvest every single penny back into more advertising inventory and purchasing physical stock to keep up with the perceived demand. They had a warehouse filled with $300,000 of premium inventory. Then, a seemingly minor algorithmic policy update rolled out across the advertising platform. Their primary ad account, the sole engine of their entire operation, was algorithmically flagged for a minor compliance misunderstanding and instantly suspended without warning. Their website traffic plummeted to absolute zero overnight. Because these founders had been so hyper-focused on customer acquisition and had completely neglected to build an owned audience infrastructure, they had absolutely no way to contact the tens of thousands of people who had previously purchased their clothing. Within 6 weeks, completely devoid of the daily cash flow from new ad-driven sales required to cover their massive inventory loans, warehouse leases, and staff payroll, that rapidly growing 7-figure brand was forced to file for bankruptcy and liquidate their assets for pennies on the dollar. This devastating outcome is not an isolated incident. It is a pervasive historical trend accelerating rapidly in the modern digital privacy landscape. The cost of acquiring a new customer has skyrocketed to unprecedented levels. In many consumer goods sectors, the customer acquisition cost has become so exorbitant that the first purchase a customer makes is almost completely unprofitable. Your profit margin vanishes instantly upon that initial acquisition just to cover the advertising spend. Therefore, the absolute survival and fundamental profitability of your online store relies entirely on your ability to compel that exact same customer to purchase a second, third, and fourth time without ever having to pay a tech giant a single dollar for the privilege of speaking to them again. This brings us to the ultimate open loop of this entire masterclass. What if I reveal that there is a specific underlying digital architecture utilized by the top 1% of Shopify and BigCommerce brands that systematically forces 30 to 40% of their total store revenue to generate itself entirely on autopilot? It is not some secret algorithm hack, and it is certainly not a temporary social media trend. It is a highly engineered, deeply psychological, and relentlessly data-driven email and SMS marketing ecosystem. The undisputed industry standard for building this critical infrastructure is Klaviyo. However, simply installing the application and sending a generic weekly newsletter is precisely where 99% of store owners fail miserably. There is a deeply hidden mechanic within customer retention architecture that, once fully understood, completely shifts how you view your e-commerce financial model. There is a very specific, highly personalized sequence of communications you are currently failing to send precisely 48 hours after a customer abandons their shopping cart. And fixing that one single operational gap is often the crucial dividing line between a stagnating store and a fundamentally thriving, highly profitable enterprise. Today, we are going to completely dismantle and meticulously reconstruct your foundational understanding of e-commerce profitability. The exact problem you are facing right now as a US-based online retailer is an agonizing margin compression. You are paying significantly more for shipping logistics, you are absorbing higher costs for raw materials, and you are bleeding capital paying astronomical prices for digital real estate. You are staring at your analytics dashboard daily, watching thousands of expensive visitors bounce off your landing pages, watching shopping carts get abandoned at alarming rates, and watching one-time buyers fade into the digital abyss, never to return. You are living with the constant underlying anxiety of waking up and hoping the advertising algorithm favors your creative today, rather than possessing a predictable owned revenue engine that you completely control regardless of macroeconomic conditions or platform updates. The core objective of this comprehensive deep dive masterclass is to guide you step by step through the meticulous and highly technical process of getting started with Klaviyo for your online store, permanently transforming it from a confusing blank software canvas into a relentless, fully automated sales machine. We will not be skimming the surface with basic, high-level advice. We are diving deep into the exact data science, behavioral psychology, and technical implementations that power the most successful customer retention campaigns in the modern e-commerce industry. I am going to show you exactly how to properly and securely integrate Klaviyo with your specific storefront so that every single micro-action a potential customer takes, from hovering over a specific product image for a few seconds to abandoning a checkout process on page 2, is permanently captured and utilized as a highly actionable data point. You will learn the sophisticated art of segmenting your audience with surgical precision. We will explore how to separate your highly engaged, high lifetime value VIP buyers from the casual window shoppers, allowing you to craft highly bespoke messaging that speaks directly to their specific psychological buying stage. We will explore detailed, granular case studies of brands that have successfully implemented intricate welcome series flows. These automated sequences do not merely introduce a brand identity. They are engineered to immediately dismantle buying objections and convert skeptical, first-time visitors into confident, paying customers within their first week of discovery. Furthermore, we will dissect the underlying architecture of the mathematically perfect abandoned checkout flow. We are moving far beyond the generic, easily ignored reminder emails to implement dynamic incentive structures, psychological urgency triggers, and personalized dynamic product recommendations that historically recover lost cart revenue at unprecedented conversion rates. Additionally, I will guide you carefully through the complexities of post-purchase behavioral flows, demonstrating step-by-step how to transform that critical psychological moment immediately after a customer receives their physical item into a massive opportunity for strategic upselling, cross-selling, and gathering invaluable social proof through fully automated, timed review requests. By the end of this exhaustive deep dive, you will possess a profound, professional-grade understanding of how to leverage Klaviyo not merely as a simple email-sending tool, but as the centralized nervous system of your entire customer relationship and lifetime value strategy. You will know exactly how to stop renting your audience from external platforms and begin building an impenetrable fortress of predictable, high-margin revenue. This infrastructure will insulate your online store from the chaotic volatility of digital advertising and provide you with the fundamental financial stability required to finally scale your business with absolute confidence. To understand why Klaviyo has become the undisputed backbone of the most successful e-commerce brands in 2026, you first have to understand the massive tectonic shift that has occurred in the way data is handled online. For years, digital marketers relied on third-party cookies to track users across the web, but those days are long gone. In the current landscape, your ability to survive depends entirely on your first-party data. This is the information you own because it was collected directly from your interactions with your customers. Klaviyo is not just an email service provider. It is a sophisticated customer data platform that aggregates every single click, purchase, and behavior into a unified profile. Think of it as a digital dossier for every person who interacts with your brand. Imagine a business owner named Marcus who runs a high-end outdoor gear store based in Seattle. In early 2026, Marcus noticed that while his traffic from social media remained steady, his conversion rates were stagnating. He was sending out a weekly newsletter to his entire list of 50,000 people, but the engagement was abysmal. He was treating a 22-year-old college student looking for a cheap water bottle exactly the same as a 45-year-old professional climber looking for a $2,000 technical tent. This is what we call the spray and pray method, and in 2026, it is the fastest way to land your emails in the spam folder. When Marcus finally made the technical switch to Klaviyo, his first step was not writing a better subject line. It was the deep-level integration of his Shopify store data. The very first technical hurdle you must clear is the integration process, and it is here where most people make their first critical mistake. When you connect Klaviyo to a platform like Shopify, BigCommerce, or Adobe Commerce, you are not just linking two accounts, you are opening a high-speed data pipeline. During the setup phase, Klaviyo will ask if you want to sync your historical data. Many founders skip this or rush through it, but this is a massive error. By syncing your historical data, you are feeding years of customer behavior into Klaviyo's machine learning models. Historical trends suggest that brands that properly utilize their past 2 years of data for initial segmenting see a significantly more accurate predictive analytics score within the first 30 days of implementation. Once that pipeline is open, every action on your site becomes a trackable event. Let's look at the technical granularity here. In 2026, the standard for a high-performing store is the ability to track the viewed product metric. This is distinct from added to cart. When Marcus in Seattle integrated his store, Klaviyo began recording exactly which categories each visitor was browsing. If a visitor spent more than 3 minutes looking at technical climbing ropes but never added one to their cart, that specific behavior triggered a data event. This event-based architecture allows for a level of personalization that was previously reserved for enterprise-level corporations with multi-million-dollar IT budgets. You are now moving from a world of static lists to a world of dynamic event streams. Step 2 in this masterclass is the installation of the Klaviyo tracking snippet, often referred to as the active on-site tracking. Even if you use a direct integration with a platform like Shopify, you must ensure that your web tracking is functioning perfectly. This involves placing a small piece of JavaScript in your site's theme code. Why is this so vital? Because it allows you to see the gap between someone landing on your homepage and someone actually viewing a product. This data allows you to identify bottlenecks in your user experience. For instance, case studies of mid-market US retailers have shown that when a high percentage of users are active on site but very few reach the viewed product stage, there is typically a technical failure in the site navigation or a massive disconnect between the advertising creative and the landing page. Now, let's talk about the specific architecture of a customer profile in 2026. Every time a user interacts with your brand, Klaviyo builds their profile in real time. This includes their geographic location, the device they are using, their total lifetime value, their average order value, and even the predicted date of their next purchase based on their previous frequency. Imagine a customer named Julia from Chicago. Julia has bought 3 items from your store over the last 14 months. Klaviyo knows that Julia typically opens her emails on an iPhone at 7 p.m. Central Time. It knows her average order value is $85. It also knows that she hasn't clicked on a promotional email in 90 days. Instead of sending Julia a generic discount code that might hurt your brand equity, the system can identify that Julia is a churn risk. The potential outcomes for stores that leverage this data are profound. In several documented case studies from the past year, brands that shifted from generic broadcasting to behavior-based triggers saw a dramatic increase in their revenue per recipient. This is the most important metric you should be tracking. Revenue per recipient tells you the actual efficiency of your communication. If you send an email to 10,000 people and make $1,000, your revenue per recipient is 10 cents. But if you send a highly targeted, data-driven email to only 500 people and make $800, your revenue per recipient is $1.60. You are making more money while sending less mail, which protects your sender reputation and keeps you out of the dreaded promotions tab. The transition to Klaviyo also requires a fundamental shift in how you view your marketing calendar. Most store owners operate on a campaign-centric model, meaning they wake up and think about what email they should send today. Professional e-commerce operators in 2026 operate on a flow-centric model. A flow is an automated sequence that is triggered by a specific customer action. This means your marketing is happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without you having to lift a finger once the initial setup is complete. This is the difference between manual labor and building a machine. However, the machine is only as good as the fuel you provide. This fuel is known as zero-party data. In 2026, top-tier brands are using Klaviyo to collect information that customers voluntarily share. This is often done through sophisticated sign-up forms or post-purchase surveys. Imagine Marcus's outdoor gear store again. Instead of a generic sign-up form that says get 10% off, his form asks a simple question. What is your primary outdoor activity? Options include hiking, climbing, or camping. When a user selects climbing, they are immediately tagged with that preference. Now, every single automated flow that user enters is filtered through the lens of a climber. They don't see images of family tents. They see images of carabiners and harnesses. Historical trends indicate that this level of immediate personalization can increase click-through rates by over 300% compared to generic onboarding sequences. As we move deeper into this masterclass, you must realize that the setup phase is the most critical part of the entire process. If your data integration is flawed, your automations will be flawed. If your tracking is broken, your segments will be inaccurate. You are building the foundation of a building that you want to stand for the next decade. You wouldn't build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand, so do not rush the technical integration of your data feeds. We have just scratched the surface of the technical infrastructure, but now that the brain of your store is connected and the data is flowing in, we have to address the most urgent question of all. Once you have this incredible data, what is the very first thing you say to a potential customer to ensure they don't immediately unsubscribe? Most brands fail this first impression so spectacularly that they lose the customer forever within the first 60 seconds of the relationship. In the next part, we are going to dive into the psychological engineering of the welcome flow. I am going to show you the exact 3-email sequence that is currently generating the highest conversion rates for US stores in 2026, and why the traditional discount code might actually be killing your long-term profit margins. We will look at how to use the data we just connected to create an onboarding experience so personalized that your customers will feel like you are reading their minds. Are you ready to see the actual templates that are driving 7-figure results? The psychological architecture of a high-converting welcome flow in 2026 is significantly different than it was even 2 years ago. Most store owners view the welcome flow as a simple delivery mechanism for a discount code, but that is a fundamental misunderstanding of the customer journey. In 2026, the average American consumer is bombarded with over 100 promotional emails every single day. If your first interaction is just a transaction, you have already commoditized your brand. To stand out, you must treat this flow as your digital handshake, your brand manifesto, and your most potent conversion tool all wrapped into one automated sequence. Imagine a shopper named Sarah from Miami. Sarah is browsing for high-end eco-friendly yoga mats. She lands on your site, finds your mission intriguing, and enters her email to receive your introductory offer. In that exact moment, Sarah's psychological state is at its peak engagement. If you wait even an hour to send that first email, you have missed the window. This is where the technical setup in Klaviyo becomes paramount. You must ensure your trigger is set to add it to list, and that there is zero time delay for the first message. Historical trends in the US e-commerce sector suggest that the open rate for the initial welcome email can be as high as 60 or 70%. Which is likely the highest engagement any of your emails will ever receive. Therefore, every word in this first touchpoint must be engineered for maximum impact. The first email in your 3-part master sequence should focus on immediate value and brand alignment. In 2026, consumers, especially in the US, are increasingly looking for brands that stand for something beyond just profit. Instead of a subject line that says, "Here is your 10% off," consider a subject line that evokes curiosity or community, such as "You are officially in," or "Our mission to save the ocean starts with you." Inside this email, you deliver the incentive immediately at the top, but the body of the email should be dedicated to the brand story. Why does your company exist? If you are running a skincare brand like a hypothetical entrepreneur named Jackson from Los Angeles, this is where Jackson explains his personal struggle with sensitive skin and why he spent 3 years developing a toxin-free formula. By humanizing the brand, you move Sarah from a transactional mindset to a relational one. Case studies from leading direct-to-consumer brands show that including a founder's note or a behind-the-scenes video in the first welcome email can lead to a significant increase in long-term brand loyalty and repeat purchase rates. Moving to the second email in the sequence, which should typically be sent 24 hours after the first, we transition into the education and social proof phase. The mistake most retailers make is sending another sales-heavy email. Instead, you need to dismantle the invisible barriers to purchase. What are the common objections Sarah might have? Is she worried about the durability of the yoga mat? Is she concerned about shipping times to Miami? This is where you use the data you have. In 2026, you can use Klaviyo's dynamic content blocks to show specific social proof based on what Sarah was looking at. If she was browsing the ProGrip collection, the second email should feature testimonials specifically from professional yoga instructors who use that exact product. Historical trends indicate that peer-to-peer validation is now more influential than any corporate marketing copy. You are not just telling her the product is good. You are showing her that people just like her are already achieving their desired outcomes with it. Step by step, you should set up a conditional split in your Klaviyo flow before sending this second email. This is a critical technical maneuver. You drag the conditional split component into the flow and set the logic to what someone has done placed order at least once since starting this flow. If Sarah has already purchased from the first email, you do not want to send her a second email asking her to buy. Instead, the yes path of that split should lead her to a different sequence that thanks her and reinforces her decision. If the answer is no, she continues down the path to receive the social proof and educational content. This level of precision prevents your brand from looking automated and robotic, making the interaction feel deeply personal. The third email, usually sent 48 to 72 hours after sign-up, is the logic and urgency phase. At this point, Sarah has seen the story and the social proof, but she hasn't pulled the trigger. In 2026, we avoid the use of fake countdown timers or high-pressure tactics that can damage brand reputation. Instead, we use genuine scarcity or a final reminder of the welcome incentive's expiration. A powerful strategy here is the bundle offer or the value add. Rather than just a discount, perhaps you offer a free digital guide on sustainable living or a complimentary carrying strap if she completes her purchase in the next 24 hours. You are providing a logical reason for her to act now rather than later. Case studies of mid-sized apparel brands have shown that a 3-day expiration on a welcome offer, when communicated clearly and respectfully, can result in a 20% lift in the flow's overall conversion rate compared to an indefinite offer. Throughout this entire welcome series, you must be obsessed with your deliverability metrics. In 2026, the major inbox providers like Gmail and Outlook have highly sophisticated AI filters. If your welcome emails have low engagement, your future campaigns and flows will likely end up in the spam folder. This is why the first-party data we discussed in the previous part is so vital. By using Klaviyo to monitor who is actually opening these emails, you can create an engaged segment. If someone hasn't opened any of the 3 welcome emails, you might choose to suppress them from your main list early on to protect your sender reputation. It is better to have a list of 10,000 highly engaged subscribers than a list of 50,000 people who never open your mail. As we look at the potential outcomes of a perfectly executed welcome flow, we are seeing stores in 2026 generate 15 to 20% of their total revenue from this one sequence alone. It is a silent salesman that never sleeps and only gets smarter as more data flows through it. However, the welcome flow is only the beginning of the customer's journey. There is a much darker, more frustrating part of the e-commerce experience that is currently costing you a fortune every single day. What happens when Sarah adds that eco-friendly yoga mat to her cart, enters her shipping information, but then her phone rings or her dog starts barking and she closes the tab? This is the moment where millions of dollars in potential revenue evaporate across the United States every hour. Most people think they have an abandoned cart email set up, but in 2026, the standard abandoned cart email is dead. It is too slow, too generic, and too easy to ignore. In the next part, we are going to dive into the high recovery architecture of the abandoned checkout and abandoned cart flows. I will show you the specific technical difference between these two triggers and the secret 3-step recovery sequence that is currently reclaiming up to 30% of lost sales for top-tier brands. Are you ready to stop leaving money on the table and start recovering your lost margins? To effectively recover lost revenue, you must first master the technical distinction between two specific events that are often incorrectly used interchangeably: the abandoned cart and the abandoned checkout. In the landscape of 2026, failing to distinguish between these two is the equivalent of leaving your storefront wide open and unattended. The abandoned cart trigger occurs the moment a user clicks the Add to Cart button on a product page, but does not proceed to the checkout screen. The abandoned checkout trigger, however, is a much higher intent signal. This occurs when a user has actually clicked through to the checkout page, entered their contact information, and perhaps even their shipping address, but stopped just short of clicking the final purchase button. Imagine a customer named David from Denver who is shopping for high-end, noise-canceling headphones at your electronics store. David adds a $400 pair of headphones to his cart while sitting on his morning commute. He is browsing on his phone, the train pulls into his station, and he closes the tab. At this stage, David has triggered an abandoned cart event. Now, compare this to a scenario where David is at his desk at home later that evening. He gets all the way to the final payment screen, but he notices a high shipping cost, or perhaps he cannot find his credit card, and he abandons the process. This is an abandoned checkout. The psychological state of David in these two moments is radically different, and your Klaviyo architecture must reflect that. Historically, in the U.S. e-commerce market, abandonment rates across all sectors hover around 70%. This means for every 10 people who show genuine interest in your products, 7 of them are walking away. However, case studies from high-growth brands in 2026 show that a meticulously engineered recovery system can reclaim 15 to 30% of those lost transactions. To set this up correctly in Klaviyo, you need to create 2 separate flows. The abandoned cart flow should be triggered by the added to cart metric. This requires a small snippet of custom code on your site if you are using Shopify or BigCommerce, as it is not always a default native integration. Once active, this flow should have a light, helpful tone. Since David only added the item to his cart, he might still be in the research phase. The first email in the abandoned cart sequence should be sent within 30 to 45 minutes. Historical trends suggest that this is the golden window before the consumer's dopamine spike from shopping completely dissipates. This email should not be a hard sell. It should use a dynamic product block that pulls in the exact image and name of the headphones David was looking at. In Klaviyo, you do this by using a dynamic table block and setting the data source to the event items. The copy should be inquisitive. Did you have a question about these? Or your cart is saved. You are acting as a helpful concierge, not a pushy salesperson. Now let's look at the abandoned checkout flow, which is triggered by the started checkout metric. Because David was so close to finishing the purchase, the stakes are much higher. The first email in this sequence needs to be sent even faster, often within 15 to 25 minutes. Why so quickly? Because in 2026, the attention span of the average consumer is shorter than ever, and if David moves on to a competitor's site or a social media feed, you have lost him. This email should address the most common reasons for checkout abandonment: technical glitches, shipping concerns, or simple distraction. A highly effective strategy we see in successful case studies is the help desk approach. The subject line might read, "Was there a problem with your order?" Inside, you provide a direct line to customer support or a link to a frequently asked questions page. You are identifying the friction point. If David abandoned because the shipping cost was too high, seeing a helpful link about your shipping policies or a mention of your easy return process might be enough to bring him back. The second email in both of these flows, typically sent 12 to 24 hours later, is where you leverage the power of social proof and dynamic urgency. Imagine if David is still on the fence. He sees an email that features a testimonial from another customer in Denver who bought the same headphones and raves about the sound quality during mountain hikes. This is not generic praise. This is targeted social proof. You can use Klaviyo's conditional splits to show different testimonials based on the product category abandoned. If he left headphones, show him headphone reviews. If he left a charging cable, show him cable reviews. This level of granular automation is what separates the 7-figure brands from the struggling ones. By the 48-hour mark, if David still hasn't purchased, you enter the final stage of the recovery sequence, the incentive and the inquiry. In 2026, we are seeing a shift away from immediately offering deep discounts. Instead, try offering an alternative value add, such as an extended warranty or a free accessory. If you do choose to offer a discount, it should be a unique, time-sensitive code generated within Klaviyo that expires in 24 hours. This creates genuine, non-fabricated urgency. Furthermore, this third email is an incredible opportunity for data collection. If David doesn't buy, ask him why. A simple one-question survey, too expensive, just browsing, or shipping took too long, can provide you with the first-party data needed to optimize your entire store's conversion rate. Technically, you must ensure your flows have the correct flow filters. This is the most common point of failure. You must set a filter that says, "What someone has done placed order 0 times since starting this flow." Without this, you run the risk of sending an abandoned cart email to someone who has already come back and bought the item, which is a catastrophic user experience that leads to immediate unsubscribes. Potential outcomes for stores that master this two-pronged abandonment strategy include not just a massive lift in immediate revenue, but a significantly lower customer acquisition cost. When you recover a sale from David, you aren't paying Meta or Google for a second click. You are maximizing the value of the traffic you already paid for. You are essentially turning your store's leaks into a recurring revenue stream. But as powerful as these recovery flows are, they only work for people who have already identified themselves by adding an item to their cart or starting a checkout. What about the 95% of your traffic that lands on your site, looks around, and leaves without ever touching a button? They are the invisible majority, and most store owners have zero strategy for reaching them. This is where we move into the sophisticated world of browse abandonment and site retargeting. In the next part, we are going to look at how to track and engage the window shoppers who are browsing your collections but not yet ready to commit. We will explore the technical setup of the browse abandonment flow and how to use behavioral triggers to serve up the exact product a customer was eyeing, even if they never added it to their cart. Are you ready to see how the top 1% of brands capture the traffic everyone else is ignoring? To truly dominate the US e-commerce landscape in 2026, you must understand that the most valuable data is the data you capture before a customer even realizes they are ready to buy. Most retailers are obsessed with the bottom of the funnel, focusing all their energy on the few people who add items to their carts. But the real scale, the kind of growth that historical trends show separates market leaders from also-rans, happens in the middle of the funnel. This is where browse abandonment becomes your most powerful automated weapon. Browse abandonment is the process of reaching out to an identified visitor who viewed a specific product page on your site, but left without clicking the Add to Cart button. This is a massive segment of your traffic. While abandoned checkout rates are high, browse abandonment rates are often 5 to 10 times higher. Imagine a customer named Liam from Nashville. Liam is a tech professional who has been eyeing a specific ergonomic standing desk on your furniture website. He has visited the product page 4 times in the last 48 hours. He has scrolled through the technical specifications, looked at the high-resolution images of the walnut finish, and read the customer reviews regarding assembly time. However, Liam never clicks Add to Cart. In a traditional marketing setup, Liam is a ghost. You have spent money on a Google search ad to get him there, and now he is gone. But because Liam is an identified subscriber on your list, his behavior has triggered the viewed product metric in your Klaviyo account. The technical setup for this is a deep dive into event-based triggers. In Klaviyo, the browse abandonment flow is powered by the viewed product snippet. This is a specific piece of code that must be installed on your product page template. In 2026, most modern integrations handle this automatically, but you must verify that the metadata, the product name, price, and image URL, is being passed correctly. When Liam views that desk, Klaviyo records the event and waits. This is where your timing and logic must be surgically precise. Unlike an abandoned checkout, which requires immediate intervention, browse abandonment requires a softer, more sophisticated touch. Case studies from the home goods sector in 2026 suggest that a time delay of 2 to 4 hours for the first browse abandonment email is the optimal window. If you send it too quickly, you risk appearing intrusive or even creepy, which can damage brand trust. If you wait too long, the intent has cooled. The first email to Liam shouldn't be a high-pressure sales pitch. Instead, use a subject line like "Still thinking about the walnut standing desk?" or "We noticed you have great taste." The content of the email should be dynamically populated with the exact item Liam was viewing. In Klaviyo, you use a dynamic data block to pull in the image and title of the most recently viewed product. But here is where the masterclass level of browse abandonment begins. In 2026, we do not just show the product, we provide context. If Liam was looking at the desk, your email should include a helpful comparison chart or a brief guide on how to choose the right desk height for ergonomics. You are positioning your brand as an authority and a helpful resource, not just a vendor. Historical trends in U.S. consumer behavior show that educational content in browse abandonment sequences leads to a much higher click-through rate and long-term brand affinity compared to generic reminders. You must also implement strict flow filters to prevent an overwhelming user experience. This is a common mistake that leads to high unsubscribe rates. You need to set a filter that ensures Liam only enters this flow if he has not placed an order in the last 30 days, and most importantly, if he has not been in this specific flow in the last 7 to 14 days. If Liam is a frequent browser, you do not want to hit him with an automated email every single time he clicks a link. You must also prioritize your flows. If Liam triggers both a browse abandonment flow and an abandoned cart flow within the same hour, the abandoned cart flow must always take precedence because it indicates much higher intent. In Klaviyo, you manage this by adding a filter to the browse abandonment flow that says, "What someone has done added to cart 0 times in the last 24 hours. Potential outcomes for brands that implement a high-level browse abandonment strategy include a significant lift in what we call the assisted revenue metric. These are sales that were not directly caused by a click, but were influenced by the consistent, relevant presence of your brand in the customer's inbox. In 2026, the data shows that customers often need 6 to 8 touchpoints before committing to a high-ticket item. Browse abandonment automates those middle touchpoints, ensuring that your brand stays top of mind while Liam is still in his consideration phase. Now, let's talk about the sophisticated use of predictive analytics within this flow. By 2026, Klaviyo's internal AI models have become incredibly adept at identifying which browsers are actually likely to buy. You can set up a conditional split in your browse abandonment flow based on a customer's predicted brand engagement score. If Liam is identified by the system as a high engagement user, you might send him a more personal, plain text email from a founder or a lead designer. If he is a low engagement user, you might lead with a more visually aggressive, benefit-focused email. This level of personalization at scale is the hallmark of a viral US brand. Another critical step-by-step detail is the use of multi-channel integration. In 2026, email is just one part of the ecosystem. If Liam doesn't open the first browse abandonment email within 6 hours, you can trigger a highly targeted SMS, provided you have his consent. This SMS should be even shorter and more direct. "Hey Liam, we saw you checking out the Walnut desk. Any questions we can answer?" This multi-channel approach ensures that you are reaching Liam where he is most likely to engage, significantly increasing the probability of a return visit to your site. We have also seen historical trends where brands use browse abandonment to cross-sell before the first purchase. If Liam is looking at a high-end camera, the automated flow can dynamically suggest the perfect lens or a protective case based on what other customers who viewed that camera eventually bought. This isn't just a reminder. It's a personalized shopping recommendation powered by real-time data. The depth of your browse abandonment strategy reflects the depth of your understanding of your customer's psychology. You are moving from a world where you hope people come back to a world where you systematically invite them back, based on their specific, demonstrated interests. You are capturing the invisible 95% of your traffic and turning them into a predictable stream of warm leads. But here is the reality. All of these sophisticated flows, the welcome series, the abandoned checkout, and the browse abandonment, rely on one single uncomfortable truth. You have to actually get the customer's information first. If you don't have their email or phone number, these powerful engines have no fuel. In 2026, the game of list growth has changed completely. The old way of just putting a boring pop-up on your site is the fastest way to annoy your visitors and kill your conversion rate. In the next part, we are going to dive into the high-conversion world of list growth and the 2026 pop-up strategy. I am going to show you how to design a sign-up experience that visitors actually want to engage with. We will look at the technical setup of multi-step forms, the psychology of value exchange, and the secret to capturing phone numbers without sacrificing email sign-ups. Are you ready to learn how to build a massive, high-quality audience that fuels your Klaviyo engine 24/7? In the high-stakes environment of 2026, your e-commerce store is essentially a leaky bucket. You can pour as much expensive traffic as you want into the top through meta ads and influencer partnerships, but if you do not have a sophisticated mechanism to capture that traffic, you are essentially subsidizing the datasets of the big tech giants without building any long-term equity for yourself. The traditional sign-up form, that annoying box that flashes 10% off the moment a page loads, is officially dead. It has been replaced by a much more nuanced, multi-step psychological journey known as the high-value exchange. This is the only way to build a massive, high-quality audience that fuels your Klaviyo engine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Imagine a customer named Chloe from New York. Chloe is a discerning shopper looking for premium, sustainable skincare. When she lands on a site in 2026, she expects a seamless, non-intrusive experience. If a pop-up blocks her view before she even sees a product, she will bounce. Historical trends suggest that immediate pop-ups have a bounce rate nearly 40% higher than those with intelligent delays. To capture Chloe's information, we use what is called a micro-commitment strategy. Instead of asking for her email, phone number, and skin type all at once, we break the interaction into 3 distinct, low-friction steps within the Klaviyo form builder. The first step is the value proposition. Instead of a generic discount, your form should offer something that aligns with Chloe's specific intent. Case studies of successful Brooklyn-based beauty brands in 2026 show that offering a skin type guide or early access to a limited edition drop can often outperform a standard discount code. In this first step, we ask only for the email address. By keeping the barrier to entry low, you maximize the initial conversion. Technically, in Klaviyo, you set this form to appear after a 15-second delay or a 60% scroll. This ensures Chloe has actually engaged with your content and is not just a random accidental click. Once Chloe hits the submit button on her email, she is immediately presented with step 2, the SMS integration. In the US market of 2026, SMS has become a critical revenue driver because it bypasses the cluttered email inbox. However, asking for a phone number upfront often scares users away. By placing it in the second step of a multi-step form, you are leveraging the psychological principle of consistency. Chloe has already committed to the brand by giving her email. She is now statistically much more likely to provide her phone number to unlock an additional benefit. Historical trends indicate that this 2-step approach can increase SMS opt-in rates by over 150% compared to single-step forms that ask for both pieces of data simultaneously. In Klaviyo, you use the mobile-only tap-to-join feature for this step, allowing Chloe to subscribe to text with a single click of a button, removing all manual typing friction. The third and final step of the modern 2026 form is the collection of zero-party data. This is where you ask Chloe 1 or 2 simple questions to categorize her. What is your primary skin concern? Options: dryness, aging, or sensitivity. This data is instantly written to Chloe's Klaviyo profile as a custom property. This is not just for show. This is the intelligence that will drive every single automated flow she enters later. If she selects aging, the welcome flow she receives will be dynamically filtered to show products and testimonials related to anti-aging, rather than generic hydration. Step by step, to implement this in Klaviyo, you go to the Sign Up Forms tab and select the multi-step template. You must ensure that your data tracking is set to unique profiles only. This prevents your list from being inflated by bots or repeat signups. Furthermore, you must configure the targeting and behavior settings with extreme precision. In 2026, the best practice is to set the form to don't show to existing Klaviyo profiles. There is nothing that ruins a user experience faster than asking a loyal customer to sign up for a newsletter they have already been receiving for 3 years. You should also utilize device-specific targeting. A form that looks great on a desktop in Chicago might be completely unusable on a mobile device in a subway. You must design a simplified, high-speed version specifically for mobile users that prioritizes the SMS tap-to-join mechanic. Now let's talk about the potential outcomes of this strategy. When you move away from the commodity of the 10% discount and move toward a value-based exchange, your list quality skyrockets. You are no longer attracting just the bargain hunters who will unsubscribe the moment they use their code. You are attracting people who are genuinely interested in your brand story and your expertise. Historical data from mid to large US retailers shows that lists built through value exchange forms have a 30% higher lifetime value than lists built through pure discount-driven tactics. Furthermore, we must address the legal and compliance landscape of 2026. In the United States, TCPA and GDPR-style regulations have become significantly more stringent. Your Klaviyo forms must include clear, conspicuous disclosure language for SMS marketing. You cannot hide your terms and conditions in a tiny, unreadable font. Educational case studies from the past year highlight that being transparent about how often you will text a customer actually leads to higher retention rates and lower spam complaints. You are setting the expectations of the relationship from the very first second. To add even more value to this setup, consider the A/B testing capabilities within Klaviyo. You should never assume your first headline is the best one. In 2026, top-tier brands are constantly testing the visual elements of their forms. Does a picture of a smiling person in New York outperform a minimalist product shot? Does a button that says "Join the club" convert better than "Get my guide"? By running these tests in the background, you are systematically optimizing your acquisition cost. If you can increase your form conversion rate from 5% to 7%, you have essentially given yourself a 40% increase in new leads without spending a single extra dollar on advertising. The complexity of list growth in 2026 is that it is no longer a set-it-and-forget-it task. It is a constant process of refinement. You are building a database of human behavior, not just a list of email addresses. Every person who fills out your form is giving you a map of how they want to be sold to. If you ignore those signals, you are wasting the most valuable asset your business owns. By implementing this 3-step, data-rich form strategy, you are ensuring that your Klaviyo account is constantly being fed with high-intent leads who have already told you exactly what they want. This is the foundation upon which all your future profitability is built. Without this, your automations are firing into the void. With it, you have a direct line to your most valuable prospects. But once you have these thousands of people on your list, and you have all this incredible data about their preferences and behaviors, what do you do with it? If you treat everyone on your list the same way, you are failing the very people who just gave you their information. You have a list of thousands, but within that list, there are tiny groups of people who are worth 10 times more than everyone else. These are your future VIPs, your repeat buyers, and your brand advocates. In the next part, we are going to dive into the world of advanced segmentation. I am going to show you how to slice and dice your list using the 2026 RFM framework: recency, frequency, and monetary value. We will look at how to identify your top 1% of customers and create an automated VIP experience that makes them feel like they are part of an exclusive inner circle. We will also explore the technical setup of sunsetting unengaged subscribers to keep your deliverability at an all-time high. Are you ready to stop talking to everyone and start talking to the right people? The absolute worst thing you can do for your deliverability and your brand reputation in 2026 is to treat your email list like a monolithic block of data. If you are sending every single campaign to every single person on your list, you are essentially yelling into a crowded room and hoping someone cares. In the current digital landscape, the major inbox providers use highly advanced machine learning to determine if your content is relevant. If you have a list of 100,000 people but only 5,000 of them are actually opening your emails, the providers will assume you are sending low-value content and start routing your messages directly to the spam folder. This is why advanced segmentation is no longer a luxury. It is the fundamental survival skill for any online store. To master this, we utilize the RFM framework, which stands for recency, frequency, and monetary value. This is the gold standard for segmenting US e-commerce audiences because it is based on objective behavioral data, not guesswork. Imagine a customer named Robert from Dallas. Robert is what we call a power user. He discovered your high-end coffee roasting business 6 months ago, and since then he has purchased 4 different bags of single-origin beans. His last purchase was only 10 days ago, and his total lifetime value is over $300. Now, compare Robert to a customer named Emily from Chicago. Emily bought 1 bag of coffee 18 months ago on a deep discount, has never opened another email since, and has a total lifetime value of $12. If you send the exact same promotional email to Robert and Emily, you are failing both of them. Robert does not need a 15% discount to buy again. He needs to feel like an insider. Emily, on the other hand, is likely long gone, and sending her more mail is only hurting your sender reputation. The technical implementation of the VIP segment is the first place we start. In Klaviyo, you navigate to the Lists and Segments tab and create a new dynamic segment. In 2026, a standard high-performing VIP segment for a US brand is defined by 3 specific logic gates. First, the monetary gate, what someone has done, placed order at least 3 times overall time. Second, the recency gate, what someone has done, placed order at least once in the last 90 days. Third, the value gate, properties about someone, total value is greater than $200. When someone like Robert meets these criteria, he is automatically pulled into this segment. Historical trends suggest that this top 1% of your customers can often drive up to 20 or 30% of your total annual revenue. For Robert, you create a specialized campaign flow that offers early access to new product drops or invites him to a private community group. You are rewarding his loyalty with status, not just discounts, which protects your profit margins while increasing his lifetime value. Next, we address the most dangerous part of your list, the unengaged subscribers. In 2026, we call this the sunsetting strategy. You must identify the people who are essentially dead weight. You create a segment for anyone who has been on your list for more than 90 days, but has opened 0 emails in that time. Instead of just deleting them, which is a common mistake, You put them through one final automated sequence called a sunset flow. This is a 2-email sequence with a very direct, plain text approach. The subject line might be, "Is it over? Or should we say goodbye?" You are asking them for a clear signal. If they click a link to stay on the list, they are moved back into an active segment. If they don't, you use Klaviyo's cleaning tools to globally suppress them. Case studies from mid-market retailers in 2026 show that brands that aggressively clean their lists every quarter see a significant lift in overall open rates and a higher percentage of their emails landing in the primary inbox rather than the promotions tab. Now let's look at the sophisticated middle ground, the engaged non-buyers. This is a massive opportunity for stores in the United States. These are people like Chloe from New York, who we discussed earlier. She is opening your emails, she is clicking your links, and she is browsing your site, but she hasn't made that first purchase yet. In Klaviyo, you create a segment where what someone has done, opened email at least twice in the last 30 days, and what someone has done, placed order 0 times overall time. This is a high-intent, warm audience. Potential outcomes for targeted campaigns to this segment include a much higher conversion rate than a cold blast. For Chloe, you don't send a generic brand story. You send a high-intensity social proof campaign. You show her the top 5 products other people in New York are buying right now, and offer a limited time incentive to help her overcome that initial purchase anxiety. Step by step, you should also be utilizing geographic segmentation. In 2026, localized marketing is a major differentiator. If you are a clothing brand and a cold front is hitting the Northeast, you can use Klaviyo's location data to segment your customers in states like New York, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania. You send them a campaign focused on heavy knitwear and outerwear. Meanwhile, for your customers in Florida and California, you send a completely different campaign featuring lightweight spring collections. Historical data shows that relevance is the primary driver of click-through rates. When a customer in Boston opens an email and sees gear that is perfectly suited for the snowstorm outside their window, they feel a much stronger connection to the brand than if they were seeing swimsuits. We must also discuss the technicality of the expected date of next order segment. This is one of Klaviyo's most powerful predictive tools in 2026. Based on a customer's previous purchase history, the system calculates exactly when they are likely to need a refill or a new item. You can create a segment of customers whose expected date of next order is in the next 7 days. This allows you to send a perfectly timed reminder before they even realize they are running low. Imagine Robert in Dallas is about to run out of coffee. 2 days before his usual reorder window, he gets a helpful automated email saying, "Need a fresh bag for the weekend?" The friction of the purchase is removed before it even exists. This is not just marketing, it is operational excellence. Finally, we have the win-back segment. These are customers who were once loyal but have stopped buying. Historical trends indicate that it is 5 to 10 times cheaper to win back an old customer than to acquire a new one. You define this segment as anyone who has placed at least 2 orders in the past, but has not purchased in the last 120 days. This segment needs a specific, high-value offer to break their new habit of not buying from you. You might offer a larger discount or a free gift with purchase. You are acknowledging the lapse in the relationship and inviting them back with a genuine reason to return. By slicing your list into these dynamic, behavior-based groups, you are ensuring that every message you send is a precision strike rather than a blind guess. You are respecting the customer's time and providing them with value that is actually relevant to where they are in their journey. This level of sophistication is what allows you to maintain high engagement even as your list grows into the hundreds of thousands. You are moving from being a solicitor to becoming a personalized concierge for every single person in your database. But even with the most perfect segments in the world, your efforts will be completely wasted if your emails don't actually look good or function correctly when they arrive. In 2026, the technical standards for email design have reached a level of complexity that can be overwhelming. Dark mode optimization, dynamic blocks, and mobile-first architecture are no longer optional. If your email looks broken on Robert's iPhone in Dallas, he will delete it in less than a second. In the next part, we are going to dive into the high-conversion design and copywriting masterclass. I am going to show you the exact anatomy of an email that converts in 2026. We will look at how to design for dark mode, how to write subject lines that bypass the brain's spam filters, and the secret to using dynamic content blocks to make one email look different for 1,000 different people. Are you ready to see the actual visual strategies that are driving record-breaking click-through rates for US brands? In the highly competitive inbox landscape of 2026, Your email design is the digital equivalent of your storefront window on Fifth Avenue. You have less than 2 seconds to capture interest before a user swipes left to delete your message. If your email looks like a cluttered flyer from 2015, you are signaling to your audience that your brand is outdated and untrustworthy. High conversion design in 2026 is built on 3 pillars: mobile-first architecture, dark mode optimization, and hyper-personalized dynamic content. Imagine a customer named Caleb from Chicago. It is 7 a.m., and Caleb is checking his notifications on his latest smartphone while waiting for his coffee. Like over 80% of mobile users in the United States today, Caleb has his phone set to permanent dark mode. If you send Caleb an email with a white background and a black logo saved as a flat JPEG, his phone will automatically invert those colors, or worse, keep the white block while the rest of his interface is dark. This creates a jarring, unprofessional visual experience that historical trends suggest leads to an immediate drop in click-through rates. The technical step-by-step for dark mode optimization in Klaviyo begins with your image assets. Every logo, icon, and product cutout must be exported as a transparent PNG. Furthermore, you should apply a subtle white outer glow or a thin light-colored stroke to dark text elements within your images. This ensures that if the background turns black, your black text remains legible. Inside the Klaviyo template editor, you should utilize the section background settings rather than hard-coding colors into every block. This allows the email client's dark mode settings to render your content more gracefully. Case studies from US-based luxury retailers in 2026 have shown that brands that prioritize dark mode compatibility see a 14% higher engagement rate among premium mobile users compared to those who ignore it. Now, let's look at the architectural framework of the email itself. We use what is known as the inverted pyramid method. This is a visual hierarchy designed to guide Caleb's eye from the high-impact hero image down to a single focused call to action. At the top of the pyramid is your core value proposition, a bold, high-contrast headline that tells Caleb exactly what is in it for him. Below that is the supporting imagery and concise body copy that builds desire. Finally, at the narrow point of the pyramid sits your primary button. In 2026, this button must be designed for the thumb zone. It should be at least 48 pixels tall and span a significant portion of the mobile screen width, ensuring that Caleb can easily click it with one hand while holding his coffee. Step by step, the implementation of dynamic content blocks is where you move from a generic broadcaster to a personalized concierge. Within a single campaign, you can show different sections to different people based on their Klaviyo profile properties. Imagine Caleb bought a pair of winter boots from your store last month. In your latest campaign, you can use a dynamic block to show Caleb a set of high-quality wool socks that perfectly complement those specific boots. Simultaneously, Maya and Phoenix, who bought sandals, sees a dynamic block featuring a lightweight foot cream in the exact same email. To set this up in Klaviyo, you select a content block and click the question mark icon to edit its display logic. You use a simple if/else statement such as person.mostrecentpurchase category == boots. This level of technical granularity ensures that you are not wasting Caleb's time with irrelevant offers. Historical trends in the 2026 e-commerce sector indicate that dynamic product recommendations can increase the revenue per recipient by over 40% because the content feels like a curated suggestion rather than an advertisement. Copywriting in 2026 has also evolved beyond the aggressive sales tactics of the past. We now focus on the me-to-you ratio. For every time you use the word we or our, you should use the word you or your at least 3 times. You are shifting the narrative from your brand's ego to the customer's lifestyle. Your subject line is the most critical piece of copy you will write. In 2026, the most effective subject lines are either extreme utility or extreme curiosity. Avoid all caps, excessive punctuation, and spam trigger words like free or win. Instead, try a utility-based subject line like, your boots will arrive by Friday, Caleb, or a curiosity-based one like, the one thing your morning routine is missing. Your preview text, the small snippet of text that appears after the subject line in the inbox, is your second chance to win the click. It should never repeat the subject line. If the subject line is the hook, the preview text is the bait. If your subject line is, your boots will arrive by Friday, your preview text should be, plus, a little something to keep them looking new. This creates a cohesive narrative that compels the user to open the email. Another vital technical detail is the use of alt text and accessibility standards. In 2026, many corporate networks and privacy-focused browsers block images by default. If Caleb opens your email and the images don't load, he should still be able to understand the offer. Every image in your Klaviyo template must have descriptive alt text. Instead of naming an image product_photo_01, name it high-performance waterproof hiking boots in chocolate brown. This not only helps with accessibility for visually impaired users, but also ensures your message is delivered even when the visuals are stripped away. Loading speed is the final technical hurdle. High-resolution images are beautiful, but if they take more than 3 seconds to load on a 5G connection in Chicago, Caleb will close the email. You must run every image through a compression tool like TinyPNG or utilize Klaviyo's internal image optimization settings to ensure file sizes remain under 1 megabyte. Historical data shows that every 1 second delay in email loading time results in a 7% decrease in conversion rate. Potential outcomes for stores that master this blend of aesthetic design and technical precision are significant. You are not just sending emails. You are creating a branded experience that respects the user's device, their time, and their preferences. When your emails consistently look perfect and offer relevant value, you build a level of brand equity that makes the actual sale feel like a natural next step rather than a forced transaction. However, even the most beautiful email in the world is limited by the inherent constraints of the inbox. In 2026, the digital conversation has moved beyond just the email folder. While email is your foundation, there is another channel that has a 98% open rate and is usually read within 3 minutes of delivery. If you are not integrating this channel into your Klaviyo strategy, you are leaving the most direct path to your customer completely untouched. In the next part, we are going to dive into the high-velocity world of SMS marketing and multi-channel orchestration. I am going to show you the exact legal and technical requirements for sending text messages in the United States in 2026. We will look at how to coordinate your SMS and email efforts so you are never annoying your customers, but always staying top of mind. We will also explore the secret of the two-way SMS conversation and how it is being used to drive massive flash sale revenue. Are you ready to see how to bridge the gap between the inbox and the pocket? In the high-speed digital economy of 2026, the distance between a brand and its customer has shrunk to the palm of a hand. While email remains the strategic foundation of your own marketing, SMS is the tactical strike force that cuts through the noise with surgical precision. In the United States, historical trends indicate that 98% of text messages are opened, and an astounding 90% are read within the first 3 minutes of delivery. However, with this unprecedented access comes a massive legal and psychological responsibility. If you treat a customer's phone number with the same high-frequency volume as an email address, you will not just lose a subscriber, you will incur the wrath of federal regulators and permanently damage your brand reputation. Consider a business owner named Jordan who operates a specialized outdoor fitness equipment brand out of Denver. In early 2026, Jordan realized that his email click-through rates for time-sensitive product drops were beginning to plateau. Customers were interested, but by the time they checked their promotion folders, the limited edition inventory was already gone. To solve this, Jordan integrated Klaviyo SMS, but he did not just start blasting his list. He followed the rigorous 2026 technical requirements for 10DLC registration. In the United States, 10DLC stands for 10-digit long code, a system required by major carriers like Verizon and AT&T to verify that a business is legitimate and that its messaging is compliant. Jordan had to register his EIN, provide specific examples of his messaging, and clearly outline his opt-in methods. This technical hurdle is actually a protective barrier. It ensures that high-quality brands are not buried by illegal spam. The first step-by-step technical implementation you must master is the coordination between email and SMS within your Klaviyo flows. We call this multi-channel orchestration. You must avoid the mistake of sending an email and an SMS at the exact same time for the same offer. This is perceived by the US consumer as aggressive and intrusive. Instead, you utilize the conditional split logic we discussed earlier. Imagine a customer named Alex in Atlanta who just entered your abandoned checkout flow. The modern 2026 strategy is to send the first touchpoint via email. Then you place a wait step of 4 to 6 hours. After that wait, you drag in a conditional split. Has the person opened the previous email? If the answer is no, and if you have SMS consent for Alex, only then do you trigger a short, high-value text message. This ensures that you are only using the high-cost, high-impact SMS channel when the low-cost email channel has failed to capture attention. Historical trends suggest that this staggered approach can increase recovery rates by over 25% without increasing your unsubscribe rate. Furthermore, you must implement Klaviyo's smart sending feature. This is a technical guardrail that prevents you from sending an SMS to someone if they have already received a message from you within a specified window, typically 16 to 24 hours. For Jordan in Denver, this meant that even if a customer triggered 3 different flows in one afternoon, they would only receive the most important text message, preserving the premium feel of the brand. Now let's dive into the psychology of the two-way SMS conversation. In 2026, the most successful U.S. brands are moving away from one-way broadcasts and toward conversational commerce. Klaviyo's SMS Conversations dashboard allows your customer success team to respond directly to incoming texts from the same platform where your marketing is managed. Imagine if Alex in Atlanta receives that abandoned checkout text and replies with a simple question. Does this equipment come with a warranty for outdoor use? In a traditional setup, that question goes into a black hole. In a high-performance Klaviyo setup, Jordan's team sees that message in real time and replies, "Yes, Alex, it has a 3-year weather resistance guarantee. Can I help you finalize your order?" This creates a high-trust human interaction that historical case studies show can lead to a conversion rate 3 times higher than a standard automated link. We must also address the specific legalities of SMS in 2026. In the United States, you must strictly adhere to quiet hours. You cannot send marketing text messages between 9 p.m. and 8 a.m. in the customer's local time zone. Klaviyo handles this technically by utilizing the geographic data on the customer profile to automatically pause messages and queue them for the following morning. If you ignore this, you are not only risking TCPA lawsuits, but also ensuring that your brand is associated with a negative, disruptive experience. Additionally, every single SMS must include a clear opt-out mechanism, typically the word "stop" to cancel. The potential outcomes for brands that master the flash sale SMS model are staggering. Imagine Jordan has 500 units of a new weighted vest that he needs to clear. Instead of a week-long email campaign, he sends a single high-urgency SMS to his VIP segment. "Jordan here. We have 500 vests left. Use code FLASH for 20% off. Valid for the next 2 hours only." Because of the 98% open rate, Jordan can effectively drive a massive spike in traffic and clear his inventory in a fraction of the time it would take through any other channel. This creates a predictable cash flow engine that is entirely independent of advertising algorithms. However, you must be mindful of the cost structure. Unlike email, which has a relatively fixed cost, SMS in the United States is billed per message and per segment. An MMS, which includes an image or a GIF, typically costs 3 times as much as a standard SMS. Therefore, you must be strategic. Use plain text SMS for high-frequency updates and save MMS for your most visually compelling, high-ticket product launches. Case studies indicate that while MMS has a higher engagement rate, the return on investment for a well-written, plain text SMS can often be higher due to the lower cost of delivery. Another technical detail to optimize is the click-to-text feature on your mobile website. In 2026, a significant portion of your SMS list growth will come from mobile users. You can place a button on your mobile landing pages that, when clicked, automatically opens the user's messaging app with a pre-written text like, "Send this text to join the VIP list and get 10% off." All the user has to do is hit send. This removes all the friction of typing in a phone number and significantly accelerates your list growth. By integrating SMS as the high-velocity partner to your email strategy, you are building a multidimensional communication engine. You are reaching your customers where they spend the majority of their time, but you are doing so with a level of data-driven intelligence that prevents fatigue and maximizes relevance. You are no longer just a brand in an inbox. You are a contact in their phone, a status that historically leads to significantly higher brand loyalty and repeat purchase behavior. But all of these flows, segments, designs, and SMS tactics are only as good as the metrics you use to measure them. If you are looking at the wrong numbers, you could be scaling a disaster or killing a success. In 2026, the way we measure e-commerce success has moved far beyond simple open and click rates. We are now looking at the deep-level financial health of your Klaviyo account and how it impacts your overall business valuation. In the final part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the ultimate analytics and optimization framework. I am going to show you how to build a custom Klaviyo dashboard that tracks the only 3 metrics that actually matter for your long-term survival. We will look at how to perform an attribution audit to ensure your revenue is being tracked correctly, and the secret to conducting an automated A/B test that can increase your annual revenue by 6 figures without adding a single new subscriber. Are you ready to see the final piece of the puzzle that turns a marketing tool into a wealth-generating machine? The transition from a marketing amateur to a high-level e-commerce operator in 2026 is defined by a single shift in focus, moving from vanity metrics to profit velocity. Most store owners are still obsessed with open rates and click-through rates, but these are leading indicators at best and distractions at worst. In the final phase of this masterclass, we are building your command center. This is the sophisticated analytical framework that allows you to see exactly where your money is going and, more importantly, exactly where it is coming from. If you cannot measure the incremental lift of every automated flow we have built over the last 9 parts, you are effectively flying a jet without a cockpit display. To start, let's look at a scenario involving a high-growth brand owner named Tyler based in Austin, Texas. Tyler runs a premium fitness apparel line that scaled rapidly using the Klaviyo strategies we have discussed. By mid-2026, Tyler's store was generating $2 million in monthly revenue. However, Tyler was struggling to understand his true contribution margin. He saw that Klaviyo was claiming 60% of his total revenue, but his Meta Ads dashboard was also claiming 40%. Mathematically, his tools were claiming more revenue than his Shopify store was actually recording. This is the attribution paradox, and solving it is your first technical requirement. Step by step, you must conduct an attribution audit within your Klaviyo settings. In the 2026 interface, navigate to the Settings tab and then to Attribution. Historically, the default setting is a 5-day email click and a 24-hour email open window. This is often too aggressive for high-ticket items. If a customer opens an email on Monday, forgets about it, and then buys through a Google search on Thursday, Klaviyo will claim that sale. To get a realistic view of your own channel performance, you should consider tightening your attribution to a 3-day click-only model for high-frequency brands. This ensures that the revenue you see in your Klaviyo dashboard is truly driven by the content you sent, allowing you to make cleaner decisions about your marketing spend. Once your attribution is calibrated, we focus on the 3 North Star metrics for 2026. The first is Klaviyo Attributed Value or KAV. For a healthy, optimized US online store, your KAV should consistently sit between 30 and 40% of your total store revenue. If it is lower than 20%, your automated flows are likely leaking cash. If it is higher than 50% without a massive increase in total sales, you may be over-communicating and cannibalizing organic sales. Case studies from top-tier Shopify Plus brands suggest that maintaining a 35% KAV is the sweet spot for sustainable long-term growth. The second metric is revenue per recipient or RPR. This is the ultimate efficiency gauge. It is calculated by dividing the total revenue generated by a campaign or flow by the total number of successful deliveries. Imagine Tyler sends a campaign to 100,000 people and generates $50,000. His RPR is 50 cents. If he then segments that list down to 20,000 high-intent buyers and generates $40,000, his RPR jumps to $2. Even though the total revenue is slightly lower, the efficiency is 4 times higher. In 2026, where every send carries a cost and a risk to your deliverability, maximizing RPR is the only way to scale profitably. The third metric is the most important for your business valuation: Customer Lifetime Value or CLV. Klaviyo's predictive analytics engine in 2026 provides a rolling CLV forecast for every segment. You should be tracking the delta, or the change in CLV over 6-month intervals. Historical trends show that stores utilizing deep-level Klaviyo automation see a 25 to 40% higher CLV compared to those relying on one-off blast campaigns. When you eventually look to sell your business or raise capital, an institutional investor in the US will look at your CLV to CAC ratio. By increasing your CLV through automated retention, you are not just making more money today, you are significantly increasing the multiple at which your company will be valued during an exit. Now let's build your custom analytics dashboard. In Klaviyo, go to the Dashboards tab and select Create Custom Dashboard. You need 3 specific views. View 1 is your Flow Health Monitor. This should display the RPR and conversion rate for your welcome flow, abandoned checkout, and browse abandonment in real time. If you see the RPR of your abandoned checkout drop by more than 15% in a week, it is a technical red flag that something in your checkout process or your email template is broken. View 2 is your segment performance grid. This allows you to compare how your VIPs are performing against your win-back leads. You are looking for trends in purchase frequency. If your VIPs are starting to wait longer between purchases, you need to adjust the timing of your post-purchase flows immediately. View 3 is your deliverability scorecard. In 2026, This must include your bounce rates, spam complaint rates, and your sender reputation score. If your spam complaints rise above 0.01%, your dashboard should trigger an alert to pause your high-volume campaigns and focus on engagement-only content to repair your standing with inbox providers. With your dashboard live, we move to the secret of the six-figure lift: multivariate A/B testing. Most people test a subject line once and forget it. In 2026, we use the continuous optimization loop. Inside your welcome flow, you should always have a test running on your most critical email. Imagine Tyler tests two different incentives: a 10% discount versus a free gift with purchase. He runs this test for 2 weeks or until he reaches statistical significance. If the free gift leads to a higher initial conversion and a higher second purchase rate, he makes it the permanent winner. But the testing doesn't stop there. You then test the timing. Does the second email in your abandoned cart flow perform better at 12 hours or 20 hours? Historical data from U.S. consumer electronics stores shows that even a 4-hour shift in timing can result in a 6% lift in total flow revenue. Over the course of a year, these micro-optimizations compound. A 2% lift here and a 4% lift there can easily result in a 6-figure increase in annual revenue, without you having to spend a single additional dollar on acquiring new customers. As we conclude this deep dive masterclass, you must realize that you have now built more than just an email setup. You have constructed a sophisticated, data-driven revenue machine that is specifically engineered for the American e-commerce landscape of 2026. You have the technical integration, the psychological flows, the high-velocity SMS strikes, the surgical segmentation, and the analytical command center. You are no longer at the mercy of the social media algorithms. You own your audience, you own your data, and you own your future. However, having the machine is only half the battle. The digital landscape is shifting again. New privacy laws are being drafted in several U.S. states, and AI-driven inbox sorting is becoming even more aggressive. The strategies that work today are the foundation, but the execution of those strategies requires a daily commitment to excellence and a relentless obsession with the customer experience. You have the blueprint. You have the technical steps. Now, it is time to move from the classroom to the implementation phase. But even as you start building, there is one final massive question you need to answer. What happens when your competitors start using these exact same tools? How do you maintain your edge when everyone has access to the same automation? In the next series, we are going to go beyond the setup and into the world of advanced brand emotionality and AI generative personalization. We will look at how to use emerging technologies to make every one of your thousands of customers feel like they are your only customer. Are you ready to see how we are using predictive AI to write individualized copy for every single recipient on your list?